Today we are working on Psalm 120. Traditionally, Psalm 120 is used to overcome any kind of lying or slander or gossip. Lying, slander, or gossip. It's also used to overcome any kind of misuse of our own speech. So if you tend to complain or you tend to say negative things, this is a way for you to undo that habit. And that's how we're going to use it today, to undo the habit of negative speech. And the way we work psalm spells is very simple. We take the psalm in question and we read it out loud all the way through once without stopping. And then we take that same psalm and we go back through it verse by verse, sometimes line by line, and sometimes even word by word. And we search and dig and hunt for hidden meanings within the Psalms. And we see those as little packets of magical seeds. And it's through this digging and searching and hunting and then also applying the seeds that we find there toward the goal or the problem at hand. It's through that process that we are in a very real way planting those seeds deeply in the fertile grounds of our mind. And those seeds then take root and they grow, they blossom forth, and then they bear fruit after their kind. And that is what we are going to do together right now with Psalm 120. In my distress I cried unto the Lord, and he heard me. Deliver my soul, O Lord, from lying lips, and from a deceitful tongue. What shall be given unto thee? Or what shall be done unto thee, thou false tongue? Sharp arrows of the mighty, with coals of juniper. Woe is me that I sojourn in Mesach, that I dwell in the tents of Kedar. My soul hath long dwelt with him that hateth peace. I am for peace, but when I speak, they are for war. Very brief psalm, only 7 verses. Now, even if you are working this psalm because people are lying about you or slandering you or gossiping about you, we always have to take the psalm and work it personally. We have to recognize that every little thing that we're talking about within this psalm is within us. When we work like that, we are smart, because working magic on ourselves and our thought forms within us automatically take care of the problems that we are experiencing outside of us. And then they also prevent them from recurring. If you assume that everything that's your problem is outside of you, and then you work magic to sort of send energy to take care of things outside of you, you never really solve those problems, and they never really get handled in any significant manner. But when you work like we work these psalms, the problems not only get handled, but they get handled permanently. So let's do that together. So it starts out with, in my distress I cried unto the Lord, and he heard me. Now, this psalm it is being spoken of as sort of as a narration. We are not directly addressing the Lord of the Psalms. We're just talking about the Lord. And remember that for us, magically, the Lord is not a male deity. It's not really a deity at all. It's not a mother or father. It is pre-gender. And what that means is that it is the source. It is the fountainhead of everything. And within our understanding of this force that we are calling the Lord in these Psalms, we recognize that there are many qualities of God. And we have to just remind ourselves what those qualities are when we start out the Psalm, so that we kind of prime the pump and we understand what we're doing. We connect with that power. There's only one. There's only one God. That doesn't mean that there's a monotheistic God up in the sky, separate and distinct from us. We mean that there is oneness. There's only unity. There's only one. There is nothing to oppose it. There's nothing to thwart it. There's no force that can oppose God. There's no force that can be against God. And so we say, since God is for us, nothing can be against us. One with God is a majority. And again, when we say God, the pronoun really is they. Not him or her, it's they. Before we go on, let's just talk about some qualities of God. Infinite intelligence is one of those qualities. God knows everything. God knows all there is. It's infinite intelligence. So God knows the mysteries of all that is, that the science is still just starting to discover, knows how to create life, knows how to create babies out of embryos, knows how planets revolve around a sun, knows the mysteries of photosynthesis, and can take care of the balance between oxygen and CO2 as you breathe. All kinds of mysteries. All right, so that's infinite intelligence. It's infinite life. It's that which is beating your heart right now. No person, I don't care how smart they are, can create life out of nothing. Nobody can. So life is something that is infinite life. This is what God is, infinite life. Infinite spirit, that which cannot be destroyed. So God is invulnerable. Infinite soul, God is creative. So you are an extension of God's love and extension of God's light. You are like a sunbeam to the sun. That's infinite soul. You are a unique soul. There's nothing or no one like you. And as such, you are an extension of God. And so you have godlike powers. Just like a puppy comes out of a dog, a turtle doesn't come out of a dog, a puppy comes out of a dog. Therefore, a godlike being comes out of God, and that's who you are. You're a godlike being. Infinite truth. 1 and 1 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. There's infinite truth. And just because somebody tries to convince you that 2 plus 2 is 7, can't make it so. And so God's truth is infinite truth. And there's many more qualities that we could talk about. But just to get you started to understand what we are dealing with when we're talking about the Lord here. So it says, in my distress, I cried unto the Lord, and he heard me. So we are putting things in the past tense. That's a very common magical tool. And so when we say that in my distress, I cried unto the Lord, and he heard me, we are educating ourselves what to do when we experience stress. When you cry unto the Lord hears you. It's because it's the nature of God to be responsive. The nature of God is responsiveness. So, but it's very clear here that God does not initiate the contact. It's why in the New Testament it said, knock and it will be answered. Seek and find. You have to be the one that initiates the contact. So it comes from you. So if you're in distress, you can either try to handle it all yourself, or you can say, ooh, I'm in distress. I need to cry unto the Lord because he will hear me. And again, he is just because of this, the way that these Psalms are written, but it's really they will hear you. Deliver my soul, O Lord, from lying lips and from a deceitful tongue. So first of all, you have to ask to be delivered from your own lying lips and your own deceitful tongue. And you might think, well, I'm not a liar. I don't lie. Really? Is that true? Every time you think that you're not good enough, you're lying. Anytime you think that you're less than, you're lying. Anytime that you have any sense that there's something wrong with you, that God created inferior product with you, you're lying. That's lying lips. That's a deceitful tongue. Now we call that your ego. Your ego mind is a liar. And this entire world is built based on lies. The world that we experience anyway, not the world that God made, but the world that we created. The world that in Genesis that we fell into is really just an old-fashioned way of saying when we started projecting our nonsense onto the screen of space, when we started to project our own neurotic thinking onto the screen of space, and then we got this world instead of the real world. Okay, so remember that this is a world of lies and that your ego is a liar. And every single time you accept the idea that you are less than perfect the way God created you, you are dealing with lying lips and a deceitful tongue. And watch what you say every single day. Watch the kind of stuff that comes out of your mouth. And the kinds of thoughts that you have. Oh, I'm so stupid. Why did I do that again? That's a lie. You are not stupid. You did that again because you got hooked by your ego, right? Anytime that you have experiences where you think you're less than, or that you're not good enough, that you're less than the perfection that God created you to be, it's because of lying lips and a deceitful tongue. So deliver my soul, O Lord, from lying lips and from a deceitful tongue. Remember, before we get off this verse 2, since this is rather a short psalm, we can spend a minute here, that anytime that you have experiences in the world where people are lying about you or trying to deceive people about you or trying to slander you or gossip about you, remember that that is a reflection of your own lies about yourself. Remind yourself of that they would not have the power to do that, or to have the power to have that be any kind of effect in your life if you didn't also have some sort of belief that there was something wrong with you. Okay, so remember that God did not create junk. God did not mess up with you. God did not screw up with you. There's nothing wrong with you the way you are right now, exactly as you are right now. Sure, there's things that you would like to get better at. Sure, there's things that you're working on. That's wonderful. That's fine. But ultimately, none of those things matter because God created you perfect. You are an expression of pure love. What shall be given unto thee, or what shall be done unto thee, thou false tongue? So now we are considering, what is the effect of this cause? What is the effect of lies? When we allow ourselves to be embroiled in this lie of this earth, what can we expect? What is the result of lying? And it tells us, sharp arrows of the mighty with coals of juniper. So sharp arrows of the mighty with coals of juniper. Coals of juniper, it's not really the juniper that we understand. This juniper was an ancient, I don't even know that it's around anymore, but it's a type of broom plant. And it had the supposed ability to burn so hot and for so long that when a fire of one of those plants occurred, you could come back a year later and the coals would still be smoldering. That's the legend. So this is really hot fire and smolders really, really long. And so sharp arrows of the mighty with coals of juniper is what you get with lies. That's what lies bring you. You get the pain of this world. That's what you get. You get the pain of this world. This world is a world of tragedy. This world is a world of sorrow. There's nothing good about this world ultimately, even though there's beautiful things in this world because it does reflect the world of God. It does. It can't help itself. Life is life. And so there is a lot of beauty in this world. But the world as we understand it, the world as we have created it, is a world of tragedy. No one gets out of this world alive. And that's not the world God created. God did not create a world of death. So we have to remind ourselves that there is a world beyond this world that we really do want to remember. And that's the world that exists outside of the lie. And then again, this is one of the reasons why this is called a song of ascent, is because we're talking very metaphysically about what's beyond this world, that there's a real world beyond this world. And in the Psalms, that's usually called Zion. Okay, so when we are experiencing the tragedies of this world, we have to remind ourselves that we are living a lie when we are experiencing that. That's not God's will. God did not will that you have tragedy. God did not will that you have problems. God does not will that you suffer or anyone suffers. So any suffering that we experience is a result of a lie, according to this psalm. And again, there's nothing to feel bad about or guilty of, but it's also not something to blame on God. God's not punishing you. God does not will for you to have anything other than joy and happiness, because that's what God created you to be, is joyful and happy and free. So all of the tragedies of this world are a result of lying lips and a false tongue. So first thing that we have to do is allow ourselves to overcome our own addiction to lies, our own need to lie, our own need to believe everything we see. There's nothing about this world that's real. We think it's real, but it's just what our eyes report to us. We think we hear what we hear, but it's only what our ears report to us. But you know that your eyes are not accurate. If your eyes were accurate, when somebody drove away down a long road, you would believe that they got smaller and smaller and smaller and then disappeared. But you know that's not what's really happening. But if you believe what your eyes tell you, then that's what's really happening. So why is it not true for everything? That your eyes aren't really reporting to you the truth, but they're reporting to you what you believe. Remind yourself of this often, that this world is not what you think it is. Think of maybe like the Matrix. Outside of the Matrix of this world, there is a world that is real. There is a world that is real, but that world is not to be seen by your physical eyes. The music of that world is not to be heard by your physical ears. But that doesn't mean that it's less real. It means that it's more real. So when you decide that you are going to look beyond the lies of this world, you start catching a glimpse of true sight, of the true vision. And that is what God has for you. That is God's will for you. And you want God's will for you, not your ego's will for you. And that's the difference between this world and the real world. Woe is me that I sojourn in Meshech, that I dwell in the tents of Kedar. Now, these are different lands of ancient times. Meshech represents body identification. Meshech represents what your eyes report to you. And Kedar represents that which is not clear. That is what seeing through a glass darkly is what that is. It means dirty or opaque or not understandable. So we are dealing with the effects of lies when we are dealing with Meshech and Kedar. That is what the lands that we exist in, when we see the world through the lies that we have accepted. And once you don't see the lie anymore, once you don't accept those lies anymore, the world stops being so real to you. It doesn't mean that the world just disappears overnight, but you start catching an idea of the fact that there is a world beyond this world. There is a real world beyond this world where things are very, very different than the way that things look here. And you know that those worlds are always kind of alluded to throughout every myth, every legend, every story, that there is a different world from this, and it's a more real world. So when you are sojourning in Meshech and Kedar, you are we're basically talking about your experience of this world as a projection of lies. So it's not clear, it's not real, and it's very deceptive. My soul hath long dwelt with him that hateth peace. That's talking about you and your ego. Your ego hates peace. Your ego is there to always distract you, to project more illusions onto the screen of space, to constantly make you believe that there is nothing but what's in front of your nose. And it doesn't like peace. It doesn't want peace. It's constantly attacking. Attack, defense, attack, defense, attack, defense. And you and this false companion that you are sojourning with, you have every power. You have all power over this voice for pain, this false companion. This is an imposter that you are living with. And you're constantly believing that this imposter is telling you the truth. But the reality is that you have a voice that is much stronger than that imposter voice. But that voice exists in peace, not in conflict. So it says, my soul has long dwelt with him that hateth peace. But then it says, I am for peace. So I am for peace is telling you, I want to be where the voice of peace exists. I don't want to be where this voice that hates peace exists. I want to be where the voice for peace exists, because the voice for peace is always showing me where to look to find the world that exists beyond this world, that always shows me where things are true. And when you start seeing things that are true in place of the lies of this world, that's when miraculous things seem to happen. But a miracle is nothing more than seeing beyond the illusion. seeing beyond the illusion. And once you see beyond the illusion, then the screen of space can rearrange itself so that it reflects the truth instead of the lies. And then this world starts to disappear in favor of a real world. And those things are usually called miracles. Sometimes we call it magic. Magic is what we're doing, and miracles are God's response to that. So I am for peace, but when I speak, they are for war. Now again, they is a very important thing because we believe our enemies are there's multitudes of them. We think that they're out there. And that's what our ego wants us to believe. Our ego wants us to believe that there's a bunch of powers that are out there that are much stronger than we are. But the reality is that the ego is lying to us, and that if we can listen to the truth of that still small voice within us, we can recognize that none of them are there. There is no other. There is only that truth. And that truth, once we accept that the voice that exists within peace is the real voice, then we allow ourselves to stop listening to thoughts of defense. We stop listening to thoughts of battle and fear. And instead, we listen to the truth, and that truth exists within the peace. So the more that we can allow ourselves to find that place of peace every single day, then we are tuning ourselves into that inner guidance that always exists for us. And that's when it says, when I speak, they are for war, but I am for peace. I am for peace. So when it says, when I speak, they are for war, your ego speaks first, and it speaks loudly. But if you wait and you give it a beat, and then you listen to the peaceful voice that exists within you, you'll start to recognize, oh, I've been listening to the wrong voice. I've been listening to the voice of lies. Now I'm going to listen for the voice of truth. You know the difference between the voice of truth and the voice of lies because the voice of truth exists within peace. The voice of lies is a response to that, and that's always loud and raucous and shrieking and getting you to be distracted from peace, trying to get you to do everything except for listen to that peaceful voice, trying to get you to blame everybody outside of yourself, trying to get you all riled up about stuff, distract you from that peace. So no longer are we going to listen to that voice for war and that voice that hates peace. We are going to tune into that peaceful, still, small voice within us day after day after day, even if it's only for a minute at a time, and listen to the peace. And little by little, we start to accept the truth instead of the lies. And then those people outside of you that are lying about you or slandering you, they no longer have any power over you. It just disappears. So you just keep coming back to the psalm every single day until you start to get a sense of peace and certainty about whatever it is that you brought to the psalm. And then you can stop working on that thing because your spell has taken and you can move on to something else. Thank you so much for spending a little time with me today. I so appreciate you. Until next time, blessed be.